Senator, last week you endorsed former state Senator Molly Kelly for governor. This is obviously a race that has gotten a lot of attention among Democrats between Steve Marchand and Molly Kelly, but the bigger focus will be on Governor Chris Sununu in the fall. He's taken a slightly different approach than some others in terms of his dealings with the Washington delegation, and he's been very critical of prior administrations, namely yours. He damaged the relationship, I guess, between the governor's office and the delegation in Washington, or is that still functional right now?
Well, first of all, I was just honored and happy to endorse Molly Kelly to be our next governor. Molly has a great record of bipartisan problem solving. She has a life story, single mom, 3 kids, put herself through college and law school, that has informed the work she's done in the state Senate, and it will inform her work in the corner office. And so I was very happy to be with her. I'm very happy with her focus on workforce training, closing that skill gap, making sure that we have an economy that really works for everybody in New Hampshire, and I think she'll be a great governor. And, you know, I'll continue to do the work that I do in Washington, which is really a continuation of what I worked on as governor, which is how do you make sure to, you know, focus on fiscal stability and making sure we have the necessary resources to invest in our businesses and our infrastructure, ultimately in the next generation, to build a brighter future. So everybody who works hard to get ahead has the opportunity to stay ahead, and so we know that our kids will have a shot. And so I'll continue to work on those things in Washington. I'm focused on funding for the efforts we have to combat the opioid crisis. We know we need to do more to support small entrepreneurs and expand middle class opportunity. That's particularly important in lowering the cost of higher education, but also making sure that our post-secondary education meets the workforce needs of our businesses. And so I have a Gateway to Careers Act, and then I'll always put our security first. So especially with my work on Homeland Security, I'm focused on how we keep our country safe, secure, and free. And that in particular means a focus on cybersecurity. We talked a little bit earlier about election security. It's also important that we have all the resources we need and maximize help from the private sector for cybersecurity, but also we need to make sure we have better security measures in place to protect us from hacking the Internet of Things, you know, that kind of hacking that we saw with Dyn last year.
So what you're saying is that the tough talk from Governor Sununu is just that. It doesn't affect the working relationship, which is good.
Look, the people of New Hampshire work together each and every day at home, in their businesses, in their communities. Every now and then they have disagreements, but they still know that we have to work together and solve problems, and that's the example I really work to follow.
Okay. In that Democratic primary, obviously, you've endorsed, Senator Shaheen has endorsed. Should we infer that then Senator Kelly needs the help to win against Steve Marchand?
Oh, look, I think sometimes, you know, people kept asking me, who are you supporting? And having worked with Molly, having seen her in action, such a pragmatic problem solver and so talented at listening to people and forging solutions, especially, you know, she was chair of education for a time in the Senate. She really has focused in the Keene area, which she represents or represented, particularly on post-secondary education and how we get that kind of STEM education and technical education that so many of our young people are hungry for. So I just think she has a particularly stellar record, and I know she has the character and vision to be a great leader in our state.
You mentioned education. You are in some ways responsible for having made Secretary Betsy DeVos's hearings on Capitol Hill appointment television. She said something last week that had Democrats pulling their hair out a little bit in terms of studying gun violence and this epidemic we have in terms of mass shootings, particularly as it relates to schools. She said she didn't want to look at the gun side of things. Do you think that gun violence and those problems can be addressed without really looking at firearms?
Look, none of our children should fear for their lives when they go to school. It's as simple and basic and that is what we are hearing from our young people here at home in New Hampshire and across the country. You know, young people have been writing to our office. They've been inviting me to their schools. I was up at Spalding High School in Rochester, I think a couple of months ago now. I just last week or so was up at Hanover High School because the kids wanted to talk specifically about this issue. We know that there are common sense steps we can take. We took a couple of small measures in the bipartisan budget agreement that we had, one that would close some loopholes in background checks, another that would allow the CDC to actually research gun violence as the public health issue that it is. But we know that there's a lot more that we can do. Our young people are demanding it, and it is highly disappointing that our Secretary of Education, with this kind of sleight of hand, has a school safety commission where she says she's not even going to discuss the role of guns. People who are exhibiting troubling behavior shouldn't be able to get their hands on firearms, especially firearms that are weapons of war that can do more damage in a short amount of time than anybody imagined. These are weapons that are designed for war, and it is absolutely essential that we come together and we listen to our young people and we take this issue on, and I'll continue to do that. And I think Secretary DeVos is not stepping up clearly on this issue, just as she's not really stepping up on how to bring people together to improve our public schools, which have been one of the critical reasons we have succeeded as a democracy.
President Trump has been feeling out his pardon power lately. Do you sense altruism here or ulterior motives?
I respect the president's constitutional right to issue pardons for federal crimes. It is a very broad right, but it is also one that shouldn't be used lightly. I think it's really important for anybody considering a pardon to really take it under consideration and give it some thought. It's also not clear that it is an unlimited power, and it certainly shouldn't be used by a president to pardon himself, because in the United States of America, no one is above the law, and that's a principle that we need to keep focused on. It's been disturbing to hear the president's advisors talk about this possibility of him pardoning himself. It's been concerning to see him pardoning people in a way that some folks are saying might be trying to send a message to others who are being interviewed or examined by the special prosecutor. And again, in the United States of America, one of our foundational principles is that nobody is above the law, and I will continue to make the case that the pardon power does not include a president's power to pardon himself.
Part of the pardon power is about showing mercy. What about a former Rochester resident, Jerry DeLamus? He was convicted, accepted a guilty plea in connection to the Bundy Ranch standoff there back in 2014. He spent 2 years behind bars. If he were to show contrition of some kind, would you tell the president, hey, this is somebody, a Granite Stater, that we should show some mercy to and let him out of prison?
Well, what I would want to do is examine the case very, very carefully, as I did when pardon petitions came to me as governor. You have to really go through specifics and understand not only that case, but the precedent you're setting for other cases. I have always had great faith in our justice system in this country. We have worked so hard to abide by the rule of law in the United States of America. That has never been, up until it seems now, a partisan issue. And I will continue to work with members of both parties to make sure that we have the kind of strong, nonpartisan criminal justice and civil justice system that really has made our country the envy of the rest of the world.
To wrap up here, just this week, the CDC came out with some new statistics that show the suicide rate in New Hampshire has risen more than 48% since 1999. That's the third highest such spike in the nation. Obviously, the opioid crisis is going on. This is almost under the radar, but it's a shocking figure. Yeah. What do you think is driving this?
I'm going to want to study some of the CDC report in great detail. We know that for a number of years, especially as the recession hit, that we were underfunding and under-resourcing behavioral health services, not only in New Hampshire, but around the country. New Hampshire, once upon a time, had a very strong community-based mental health system. I worked as governor to put more resources back into that system, and again, to begin to integrate that system system. So one of the things we know we need to do is to be able to deliver behavioral health care through the primary care system. It needs to be treated as a disease just like any other diseases, and we need to work to eliminate the stigma of mental illness. And I'm very grateful to former Chief Justice John Broderick for the work he's doing around this state, especially with young people, but we need to do more, and we certainly know that there are times a co-occurrence of behavioral health and substance use disorder, so we need the resources to come to the state to help us address not only the opioid epidemic, but our behavioral health issues. And this is one of the reasons that so many of us are concerned about this administration's efforts to sabotage health care in this country. We need to be lowering the cost of health care, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, expanding the amount of primary care and behavioral health care for our people, because we know how important it is to address underlying health concerns, and certainly mental health and suicide is one of those.